We will move from 4A down to 2A, where the Solon Spartans at 5-2 play host to the Oelwein Huskies at 3-5. Oelwein played last week while Solon had the week off. Oelwein beat South Tama 42-28. Just by a point of comparison here, Walk-On is one of the favorites in 2A. Walk-On beat Oelwein 58-12. Solon is at home Friday, obviously a heavy favorite. What are we looking for in this one, Ryan?
This game kicks at 7. It might be over at 8:05. These teams have combined to throw it 100. I think Oelwein's thrown it 65 times. Solon's thrown it 75. So this could be a good old-fashioned clock. And when I say clock runs, I don't mean I'm not getting ahead of myself and talking 35-point. I mean, this is going to be a lot of between the tackles, both ways, old school, high school football when I was in high school in the 90s, and the teams that threw it a lot threw it 12 times. You could see 15 pass attempts between these two teams on Friday, Rob. But we've talked about it repeatedly with Solon. It's not overly complicated. They figured out what they want to do. They want to run the ball. They've been able to do it. They've been great. I know I have it here. So I was just looking at this before we jumped on for my capsules this week. Last 5 games against 2A teams, Rob, rushing totals for Solon, 405, 275, 304, 387, 233. So they want to run it. They've had a lot of success doing it. I like the way they're doing it too. They've really spread it out. Jackson Ryan and Hayden Taylor kind of split the load at running back. They're different styles. Taylor's a really good downhill runner, 2-time state wrestling champ, leverage guy, tough kid. Ryan has a little bit more speed. He can get the edge. But he's I don't know what they list Jackson at. I should look that up. He's a track guy. See what they have him at weight wise, but he'll hit you too. And then Blake Timmons has really done a good job, sophomore quarterback. He looks better, what you'd expect. He looks better every time I see him. But for Oelwein, they got a kid, their running back, Voshell. Rob, last week in their win against South Tama, you'll like this: 39 carries, 385 yards, and 4 TDs.
The hammer.
That is a season. That is a 2020 COVID season for running backs. I mean that. I mean, you see a lot of kids that have 500 yards this year in 7 games. He had 385 last week. But the thing you notice with him is, and you can look at this several ways. It's not shocking, but in their 3 wins, Rob, he averages 271 yards rushing and has 9 TDs. So, and then in their 5 losses, he averages 113 yards and has 3 touchdowns. So you go through and you look, 258 in a win, 169 and 4 TDs in a win, and then 385 last week for him in a win. But I said,
Solon will know where to find him. So it looks like a game where what the other team, where the other team's, star player is. It's a matter of stopping him.
Right. You said it well. This one's not overly complicated. I'll give you my 2 keys, but you know what they are. And as much as every week we get on here, we've talked about Solon's running game, which for good reason. But defensively, Rob, they haven't given up more than 187 rushing yards in a game. They're holding teams to 212 total yards and 13 points a game. And here's their rushing total against they gave up 187 to Washington in week 2. Their rushing totals against 2A teams: 16 yards, 67 yards, 69 yards, 86 yards, 129 last week against CPU. So they're good against the run. Their linebackers, I think I mentioned this: Colton Hoffman, Carson Shive, Lucas Teeple. They're as good of a set of linebackers as you're going to find in 2A, probably. Really good. Those guys get to the ball. Don't overthink this one. My key is for Solon: hang on to the ball. They've been really good. They didn't play last week. You get back out there, it's going to be a little cold. Hang on to the football, long drives like we talked about with City High. And then number 2, stop the run. We talked about this with a team last week. If you make Oelwein one-dimensional, a team that's thrown it 65 times in 8 games, there's a reason they've thrown it 65 times in 8 games. That's not what they want to do. I'm not saying they can't, but that's not what they want to do. Make them do what they don't want to do. Get a lead, take their running back away. And look, they got to get multiple guys to the football. That Oelwein kid, I've talked to some people, he's 200 pounds. Like, you're not gonna arm tackle him. You're not gonna bring him down with one guy. But that's what Solon's done really well for the last couple of years defensively, is get multiple guys to the football. That's your keys, I think, for that one. I had another note on that game, if you're looking for comparisons for Oelwein, in a kind of ironically, both their non-district games were against teams from Solon's district. So they beat Union. These teams have a lot of common opponents, I guess is what I'm saying. Oelwein beat Union 30-16, lost to Mount Vernon 41-20, and then beat South Tama last week 42-28. So just quickly, if you're looking at comparing scores, if you're a Solon fan, which I'm sure you've already done if you're really into it, but I would say obviously beats better than South Tama and Union, not as good as Mount Vernon. You're probably looking at them as like a CPU Vinton Shellsburg comparison. Solon beat Vinton, I think 28-6, and last week of the regular season 42-14-ish against CPU, but that was a pretty good game through a half. So I would guess they're somewhere in that in that area, but they're good. Much like those two teams too, it's going to be a matter of Solon's ability to stop the run, which they've done so well this year, that you assume they'd continue to have that success on Friday.
Oelwein does have 13 takeaways, but 8 of those are interceptions, and the Solon's not going to give them an opportunity to intercept many passes. So that's kind of a skewed stat a little bit. And then from a historical perspective, the first meeting between these two schools, and Solon being up in 3A obviously impacted that a little bit. So not a big surprise there at either, but the first meeting between these two schools.
I should mention, I was talking about Blake Timmons, who's done a really good job at quarterback for Solon. And I said hold on to the ball. Sophomore quarterback, first year, 11 touchdowns, 1 interception. I mean, I'm sure if you told Lucas Stanton before the season, we're going to play a first-year sophomore quarterback and he's going to throw 1 pick. Yeah, even they've thrown it 75 times, so they haven't thrown it a bunch. But man, that's taking care of the football. And again, you knock on wood or whatever you want to do, but if you can continue to do that with that offense, with that running game and that defense in the postseason, you're going to give yourself plenty of chances. I mean, that's kind of what he needs to do. No quarterback wants to hear it, but game manager a little bit, because he's also electric in the run game for them. He's really tough in the run game. So take care of the ball. Don't try to force it down the field when you don't have to, and take the yardage that's there on the run. And that's something where with a sophomore quarterback, yeah, I mean, you can't ask for much more than that.
Especially important this week, Ryan, when it's a first playoff game for him, to just be efficient, just play within yourself. All those cliches, I think, will be important for him.
We love the cliches, especially me, Rob.